Okay, students, so this will be an introduction to one of your assignments for week 5. This will be an assembly that you'll have to work on. So for this assignment, of course, you're gonna create some drawings, use the drawing tools, dimensioning, geometric constraints. You're gonna also use a lot of extrude for the most part. Now in this case, we're gonna start introducing multiple sketches in different planes. So we've already sort of introduced that previously. Now you're gonna have to actually take that learned knowledge and really use it to your advantage for this one. So you're not gonna get much help for this homework, but everything's still really doable. Okay. And then finally, how to insert components into an assembly, which we've seen before, and also joints, which we've also seen before. Okay, so fully defining sketches, all of that still applies for this homework. So your position X, position Y, size and angle, that should be fairly consistent in the class by now, so everyone should be comfortable with those. And then finally, here's where the little curveball is going to kick in. So you're going to actually create components this time. Instead of me giving you sketches, I'm going to actually give you engineering drawings created based on those particular components. So you're going to get a list of engineering drawings. You'll be able to take a look at those, understand what each of those are trying to tell you, read them, and then use those to create the actual components. And then finally, create the assembly. So as far as the engineering drawings, so this is a list of what you're going to get. This PDF file contains all of the engineering drawings that you're going to need for this assembly. As you can see here, we have the title. So we have, in this case, I just named it Assembly1. And then under Assembly1 for each of the components, you're going to have the name of the component. So I suggest you use this name when you create these components individually. That way you know exactly which component to refer to as far as the engineering drawing goes. Okay. And here, as you can see, you get all the information you need. So this particular component is fairly simple. It's just an arm that you're going to use within the assembly. It's essentially just a bar. You can create this using just one extrusion. This would be your main sketch here on the top left. You have all the dimensions you need there. So we have a couple of circles and then sort of an outer area here. And of course, you can always zoom in and zoom out as you need. And you should be able to see everything that's going on there, right? So that inner circle, that's just for holes, and then of course the outer curve, that's for the body. Okay, and then of course the same thing goes on the other side. Once you have that sketch, just extrude it by this amount and you should be able to get a model or component that looks like this. Okay, so this one's fairly simple, nothing complicated, nothing crazy. This one's a little bit more complex. It's very similar to the first one, except you have two new features. Okay, and then let me zoom in here so this is understood by everyone. So the main body is the same as the previous one. The holes are the same as the previous one, except here now you have another hole here. So this, the solid lines here and the solid curves, those define a solid sketch, right? And then on the inside here, you can also see a couple of dotted lines. So those dotted lines, what they represent, as you can see here, the solid is the original extrusion, the dotted is a hollow center. Okay, so that can be created by using a new sketch sort of in this plane here or any of the planes here, right? And then just making a circle and then extruding it this way and extruding it this way to remove material. Okay, and that sketch should look something like this. So it's a hollow center. Of course, you have the radius for the center, or you can turn this into a diameter and just make it centered to the whole area. Okay, and then at the end you should get something that looks something like this. Okay, so it's very similar to arm number 1, except you have this extra slit and you have a hollow center. Okay, so if you still have any questions from that, I'll show you in a second what I mean. Hopefully everyone understands it after this. Okay. Now here we have a plate. So this is going to be the base plate. Simple as it gets. Just one rectangle, one simple extrusion. You get that solid, you're done. And then we have two different pivot bases. Okay, so this is pivot base 1. You have all the dimensions you need. I suggest you start with this sketch, extrude it, and then this sketch, extrude to remove material. Okay, so essentially what you're trying to remove from here is just this inside area. Okay, same thing goes for the next one. Start here, create this sketch, extrude it by the specific amount, right? Hint, hint. And then create a new sketch to remove this area to cut, okay? And you should end up with something that looks sort of like this, all right? And then finally, the last component here is our slider, okay? This one's fairly simple. It's just a combination of two cylinders, okay? One cylinder, you have the dimensions there, so that's the height of the cylinder, and then I believe I give you the, yeah, so this should be the diameter here. Okay, this is of the big one here and here, and then I give you the length for the small one and the diameter for the small one, and of course everything's sort of centered and you can use those dimensions there. Okay, so super simple. Now once you're done with this ones, then all you really need to do is assemble everything together so it looks like this. Now I'm not gonna give you a video explaining step by step on how to join everything, except you should by now understand, right? All you're gonna need to see is this animation here. So this is how this assembly should sort of function, should react. Okay, so notice this points down here and up here. They don't move, they just pivot. And then the slider, that actually slides up and down the secondary arm, or arm number 2, arm number 1, and arm number 1. And then of course that's why it's hollow there, as you can see, because that slider needs to slide up and down. Okay, so we're expecting you to be able to complete something like this. Again, we're not worrying about any limits at this point. So if your assembly crosses like that, at this point it's still okay. We'll worry about setting limits later in one of the next homeworks and assignments. Okay, so again, use this to sort of try to understand what's going on. Okay, now what I can also do is I can show you real quick arm number 2 here. So let me look for arm number 2, and then that way it should give you an idea of what's going on. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to give you an idea of what's going on with this arm. Okay, so everyone gets this sketch, right? This sketch is fairly simple, and then the cross-sectional area, it's just hollow like that, a circle. Okay, and of course it goes all the way down up until a dead specific point, which you should have, and then nothing, the rest of the body. Okay, hollow, 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 and then it stops, and then the rest of the body. Okay, so hopefully that helps you visualize and understand what's going on with the engineering drawing. And again, all you need to do is complete each of the individual components, assemble them together so they behave exactly like this, and then once you're done with that, then make sure you leave the joints turned on. That way we can see what joints you used. Okay, in my case I'm leaving them off because I don't want to give any pointers for that just yet. So just make sure you, once you submit your actual screenshot, make sure the joint feature here is turned on so we can see the joints. Okay, and that's pretty much it.